Holy moly, I refuse to wait for a second longer. I want bacon on my salad, not genitalia. Let's do some real gaming. I'm going to check out Ashes of Creation.
You know that's like another paid alpha, right?
I don't care. These are the fires of my hatred, so boom, $75. Let me in. Wait, I can't get in.
Yeah, you paid for the pre-order of the beta 2 phase. Right now, it's just on the alpha 1 phase.
Okay, how do I get into the alpha right now? What the f? $500? MMOs that aren't WoW are scary.
Hey, it's Soul, and welcome back to Warcraft Weekly, the news roundup that out of all the others is the most okay. And let's get right to it. This week, the pre-expansion patch for the Burning Crusade Classic eventually happened. Yeah, over on the Americas realms, a super extended maintenance took place, giving players eager to level their Blood Elf and Draenei characters the old school feeling of a midnight release. Eager players were foaming at the mouth and didn't hold back one bit, vomiting insult after insult because clearly that makes things go faster. But it's clear that Blizzard mismanaged expectations, maybe bit off a little bit more than they could chew. Because one thing's for sure, this is an unprecedented move on their part. I'm no expert on data migration outside of knowing that it usually takes a long ass time, but as soon as realms went down, Blizzard had to clone every single character made to the tune of what I would guess are the tens of millions to be distributed on a set of regular Burning Crusade realms and connected classic era realms, all in 8 hours. Obvious oversimplification and apparently an underestimation. My opinion though, like I said, Blizzard mismanaged the communication side of things here, having to push their estimated completion time again and again and again, each time chipping away at the patience of some not so patient fans. But an 18-hour wait for a full data copy and a patch and connecting realms together sounds like something to celebrate with at least a slice of cake. Some players were mad and lost their cool, I totally get it. But try as I might, I failed to connect with the angry sentiment coming from these folks. After all, this is just the pre-patch, not the launch of TBC Classic. We're already seeing level 60 Blood Elves and Draenei, probably thanks to meticulous planning and dungeon boosting, but it's one testament that 2 weeks might be a reasonable amount of time to level. This is coming from someone who on the first day of the original Burning Crusade release, I played through a few quests in Thrallmar and then promptly did a total 180. Rolled a brand new Blood Elf, got him to 59 in about a week or so, and then just kind of kept on trucking along. It must have sucked being a Blizzard engineer during launch day as well as this week, and I guess always too, doing whatever they needed to do for an extra 10 hours, knowing that there's a big old rage ball of players pounding at the gates. And it's a bit embarrassing to see these critics as they fail to look past their login screens at the people who are just trying to get this patch up and running. You know what was a shared disappointment? Warlords. I was there, all eager to venture into a new / old land and build up my garrison, and I'm trying to build up my garrison. I can't build it apparently. I'm trying to get some trees and the respawn rate is crap. I'm trying to click the thing, the tripod, whatever, to make the garrison go, and it's just not working. Oh, and then realms just crash and wouldn't be back up for hours. That was great. No, that was a lesson learned, and we haven't had a jacked up launch like that since. So, in less than 10 days, cross your fingers. And if you're on a high population PvP server, just give up, you're screwed, wait for a few hours, alright? Or ask for a Warlock portal to Outland or something. Moving on, the other day a tweet was posted by the person who develops Tomcat's add-on suite, a popular set of add-ons centered mostly on map enhancements, finding cool stuff, that sort of thing. In so few words, he, and I'm making a pronoun presumption here, he asks for help. He has certain health conditions that forced him to resign from his on-site job, and while trying to improve his situation, went all in on add-on development. Unfortunately, with mounting medical bills and dwindling funds, he's turned to reaching out for a bit of help, including seeking out new work as a programmer in a work-from-home setting. This is not an uncommon scenario. Addon creators are not paid well for a variety of reasons, and I just want to raise some awareness over what's going on and what we can consider doing to help. As we all know, the add-on community for the World of Warcraft is insanely huge. It's an industry unto itself, and we as players have grown quite dependent on it. I regularly see comments about how some people find the game to be literally unplayable because their favorite add-ons aren't updated after the launch of a new patch or an expansion. But our dependence on them hasn't translated into anything close to a living wage for all but a few creators. I'm sure more than a few of you are thinking, well, this person, well, they should just go get a job. Working from home, it's like the perfect opportunity. Or you may be thinking that add-on creators deserve what they get paid because doing stuff like this is just for fun. It's a hobby. A living wage? Pfft. That's out of the question. The fact that their add-ons are popular must mean it's easy for them to get a job. Surely that's more valuable than me becoming one of their patrons. For the most part, I'm glad that Blizzard has some pretty strict rules regarding monetization of add-ons. Creators are not allowed to ask for compensation within an add-on, but are more than free to outside it, but that doesn't really help the creator. According to the Tomcats dev post, their exposure on CurseForge allows for an income equivalent to 2 of Taco Bell's chalupas. Oh. What's a chalupa? It's a handful of taco-shaped ingredients cradled in fried flatbread and is described on its website as beautiful witchcraft. 2 of these? $6. The creator of Tomcats Tours gets a check from CurseForge to the tune of less than $200 a month before taxes. As a programmer, that is not a lot of money at all. But this is not just a piece on the Tomcats developer, but add-on developers as a whole. Just in 2018, Mystical OS, the developer for Deadly Boss mods, made a similar post, being unable to land a regular job because of his role doing at-home care. He needed the help as well. And he's got one of the most popular add-ons out there, up there with like ElvUI and Raider.io, all of which employ multiple revenue streams, and rightfully so. So here's my take on this. What I find distressing about the add-on community and its users, and hey, I'm one of them, is that there's this kind of entitlement that we have and how we take advantage of these developers without so much as a second thought. I would like to think that I pay it forward by featuring new and up-and-coming add-ons as I see them and encourage people to give it a shot. I went ahead and donated what I could to the Tomcats developer, but it's not reasonable for me to consider paying out for every single add-on that I use. Just a few months ago, I reported the backlash against the developer of Mythic Dungeon Tools for trying to make it only workable for his patrons, and statistics indicate that you are likely watching this video with an ad blocker on, probably not to stick it to me personally, but because you don't like being inconvenienced with ads. I totally get it. Tomcats gets $200 a month from CurseForge, which according to them is a revenue share between all creators depending on the popularity of their add-on, turns into some percentage applied to the overall cash that they bring in from advertisements and a $3 a month subscription. I'm willing to wager that that subscription revenue is not that high, and that fewer than expected users are using CurseForge's client because its owner, Overwolf,
is literally evil incarnate.
Meanwhile, the creator of WoW Up, a popular add-on manager that I use personally, generates a little bit under $1,000 a month before costs for its creator, which is well earned because it's a good product. But how much is the Tomcats guy benefiting from that? That's very hard to quantify actually, but it's a number greater than 0, but less than what it would be if WoW Up was not taking potential revenue from CurseForge. Now let me remind you that this is just my opinion, and this video is not being sponsored by nobody except for our lovely patrons. I'm not going to tell you what to do, but I'll lay out the options. What can we as users do? Because the Tomcats guy and Mystical OS and all the thousands of add-on creators out there, they don't want to hold their add-ons hostage and coerce us to throw them all the monies and make them become overnight millionaires. They just want to get more fair compensation, something closer to a reasonable living wage in the face of an audience that has a tendency to be take first and give later, maybe. We can choose to continue with our current behavior, use add-ons with impunity, assume that someone else will donate, and when an add-on creator dips out, hope that someone else picks it up, or well, we'll go looking for the next one. We can choose to donate to our favorites because without them, we are but lost little sheepies. We can straight up stop using said add-ons out of malicious compliance, or we can
Sell our souls to the devil.
Hyperbole aside, I have to admit that well, the best position for me to take might be to in fact use the CurseForge client for like 99% of my add-on management, making WoW Up officially my, venture plan auto updater. The reasoning behind that though is simple. For one, I've tested it and I haven't found anything wrong with it. 2, I sort of I sort of forgot that it's been always running in the background, like ever since this whole thing started, running its silent ads, and I never noticed anyway. 3, if the Overwolf client really was adware, someone would have called it out by now. But 4, and most importantly, I am cheap, but I still want to support creators even if the man is getting a 30% cut out of it. I said this back when Overwolf was like the worst thing about Shadowlands, and look how far we've come, folks. Using the CurseForge client and putting up with silent advertisements lets me throw a bit of someone else's money to creators. I can afford to lose a couple of megabytes of RAM and some bandwidth, but that's me speaking for me. And now I want to turn that over to you folks. Do you think add-on creators are getting their fair shake, or should they just shut up and nourish themselves off of us downloading their add-ons?
Oh baby, 3 installs today. Tonight's dinner is a whole box of Pop-Tarts. I actually ate the Pop-Tarts and now I'm down to the box.
Okay, maybe not the most fair way to turn it over, but seriously, are add-on creators making enough? Is Blizzard being fair by preventing creators from aggressively asking for cash, or should we be a little bit more reasonable when considering advertisements and who it's actually helping? Now for a quick shout out to everyone watching this on the Loo, and with that, I want to inform you that the qualifier of the Mythic Great Push is happening over this weekend. Teams from around the world are in tournament realms trying to reach as high of a key level as possible to qualify for the actual Great Push competition going on next week. I think what's cool about this competition is that it's not so much a head-to-head, but a series of, oh my god, seriously, did you see in that Sanguine Depths run? I know, like they bothered to complete it. It's insane. Seriously, there's already some shenanigans going on already. To summarize, a team has been able to complete a plus 30 Plague Fall with clever use of the Rigged Plague Boar's Plague Bomb ability. Normally it kills the caster mob, but cycloning after making it use its ability through mind control makes that mob immune to the explosion while it trucks everything else. Then a mage polymorphs it to keep its health up, and basically the Plague Boar becomes like the 6th party member. It's totally ridiculous. It's likely to get nerfed before the actual tournament, but it's testament to the different kind of approach that this tournament is trying to take. I'm really looking forward to what sorts of antics take place, and with any luck, the inevitable nerfs and changes that do happen won't affect the regular Mythic Plus folk, but only these incredibly talented psychos. Moving on to a story that sums up to yes, people do in fact get older. Top Russian raiding guild Exorsus is stepping away from the competitive scene and the race to world first. While their last world first kill was off of Gul'dan in the Nighthold a number of years ago, Exorsus has been a top tier raid team for a good number of years, scoring top spots and pissing off the rabble beneath them. In what's become their final season of serious raiding, they still managed to be the 9th guild in the world to defeat Sardonathrius on Mythic. According to a statement from the GM Alviona, they're one of the oldest guilds in the World of Warcraft scene and boasts the most stable roster. It's thanks to that their guild is more than just a raid team, it's a family. Families grow and grow old, and they eventually shift priorities. They'll still be playing, just not on that serious of a level. Some of its more hardcore members are more or less free agents, and on their final note they say, "This is why we do not say goodbye. We will continue to play together." Yeah, that's sweet. Moving on, let's take a look at the highlights from this week's PTR build, starting with what sounds like a huge improvement / compromise to Mythic Plus. At the end of a dungeon that you time, an NPC will appear and offer to reroll your key to a different dungeon. About frickin' time. There are some restrictions though. This only works if the key that you have is the same or lower level key as the dungeon that you just completed. So you can't just run a bunch of 2s to reroll your 15 key until you get the dungeon that you actually want to do. You also can't exchange your key if it was your key used to do the dungeon in the first place, because technically, well, the key that you have is going to be higher since you timed it, and you just rolled your key in a sense. From the sounds of it, while you can only exchange your key once per run through this NPC, I don't see any reason why this would be a one-time exchange per week, because that would do almost nothing to affect player behavior. I think it would be great if you can keep exchanging it every time you clear a dungeon, because that means you're out there playing and clearing and timing dungeons. That's much more positive and fulfilling behavior. Players have been clamoring for something like this since Mythic Plus even became a thing. I think that this is a great compromise of giving players that much more agency while avoiding situations where they would more or less blacklist certain dungeons immediately after receiving a key. That's me being a bit sensible about it, but how about you, more seasoned folk? Is this going to help any in Season 2? Some big additions and changes came to Korthia as well in this build. An NPC was added who will now do the whole soul ash trading thing. The numbers have been scaled down for more reasonable trading, but more importantly, trading is done outside a Torghast climb, and you can buy multiple Soul Ash boxes. I really dig this. More random rewards have been added. I've been getting like weird toys and mounts while testing, but I do want to take some time to give some critical feedback on the Relic Archive reputation that players will be working in Korthia. The reputation is directly tied to Relic fragments, and you're going to collect like thousands of these things. That is, if you want to be part of that loop. Big opinion here, but this is a conversation for solo players and folks outside of the big three: organized raids, PvP, and dungeon fun times. Trying to tailor this relic stuff to that scene is a recipe for disaster. However, even still, the grind is real, almost a bit too real, and here's why. I can be out in Korthia farming up rares and opening up treasures, and on top of that, there are these hidden mobs that I can only see once I buy one of the first Korthia perks. It's actually pretty cool because with it, I can see which mobs have relic fragments as well as see these otherwise invisible and untargetable mobs. These guys drop a really good chunk of relic fragments when killed, to the tune of like 20 or 30. The problem is that there's a diminishing return to how many fragments drop from mobs, special or not. It gets to the point where these purple colored mobs will only drop like one fragment, clearly communicating to players that there is a limit to how efficiently you can farm each day, but I can say with confidence this is not necessary. For one, this whole Korthia grind is not going to enter the radar for people trying to do high-level keys and mythic raids. It's just not designed that way. Two, there are other diminishing returns that are already in place. We learned that turning in fragments gets you a little bit of rep. However, as your rep gets higher and you get to new levels, turning in fragments will get you less rep. And it's not only reputation, but also renown that prevents players from accessing the highest level perks, namely being able to upgrade gear from world content up to an item level of 233. No one's going to be able to upgrade this gear past rank 4 until renown levels 61 and then 75, along with farming a crap ton of fragments to boot. We probably have at least a month to go before 9.1 launches, so there's lots of room to iterate, but here's my take. Right now as I play, the diminishing returns on fragments feel really bad, and it discourages my enjoyment when I would otherwise be hunting and killing things with a violent enthusiasm. It's one thing when my fragments mean less, but it feels punitive to also receive fewer fragments per kill. It's a weird way to end it, but that's the show. Okay, I kind of lied, but I wanted to shove this last bit towards the end as a bit of side commentary or snide commentary, get it? But I found it only a bit humorous to hear about Asmongold hosting a molten core attempt with a bunch of players using BC boosted characters, including himself. The backlash was enough to prompt a bit of additional response with him saying that boosts shouldn't be in the game, but if they are, I'm going to take advantage of them. I'm not going to use a simple word like hypocrite to describe said behavior. I mean, I think I align with this when it comes to flying mounts. I think they do a lot of harm to world design, but they're already here. That's a box that's not going to get closed, so for now, I'm going to embrace the world before flying is allowed just as much as when it is allowed, while giving feedback to make that sort of gameplay better. As for other things like boosts and mounts, I 100% support basic capitalism on this. This is just an option to put up on a store for people to buy or to ignore. It's not a required fee. I mean, imagine if TBC Classic had a $20 digital box price. But if these things interest you, go ahead and get it. If it does not, then don't. It's a video game, folks. Relax. But of course, I draw the line at bona fide pay-to-win advantages that adversely affect player behavior. I don't have skin in the game, but I think where people take issue is that they see Asmongold as someone that they want to represent their interests, being anti-microtransaction, anti-boost, or whatever. I mean, he most recently demonstrated this stance on the criticism he had of the New World MMO to only leave him hanging when his behavior flew in the face of said interest. At the risk of overanalyzing, this sort of cycle is really top-tier engagement. Like, he gets folks riled up, he gets commentators talking about what's being said, and encourages further discussion, and then he does whatever he wants, prompting further responses, reactions, and more influence. The irony is not lost by me even talking about this, nor is it lost by me asking you, What do you guys think of this? Like, does criticism like this or toxic comments, or is all of it just a bluff that Blizzard isn't falling for? It makes me wonder because I can run searches on my YouTube comments and see the same people trash the game and quit the game across several years, and I consider myself a very small creator. I bet other creators who've been in the game longer and have bigger audiences will see this in even greater amounts. How many players have went through this cycle of quitting and coming back? How much of that 30 or so % of players that have apparently quit WoW pop up on Blizzard's analytics as people that are always gonna come back anyway? Leave a thought or three. One more thing, because I know I've been talking a lot today, I think. You might have noticed from my Twitter posts and streams that I finally did it. I resubscribed to Final Fantasy XIV again. I don't talk about it much, but I've been playing it off and on. Right now it's on, and I'm sort of going ankle deep into it to really break down my thoughts and feelings about WoW's so-called greatest rival. But I want to be extremely careful about how I do it. It's because I've only gotten past the base game and the first expansion, and if you were to ask me to talk about it right now, I would trash it until it's an unrecognizable mess, but that would be irresponsible of me. I will say this though, Final Fantasy XIV is a great JRPG experience. That's about within my safety limits, but if you're looking for me to be a bit more candid, I'll be streaming my playthroughs of all the expansions over on my Twitch stream when I'm not farming for anima or doing PTR testing. So far though, this has done a lot to better my perspective of MMOs in general and what different games have to offer, their advantages and shortcomings, and it's been very enlightening. It even makes me appreciate a lot of what the World of Warcraft does for its players. But now is the time to give thanks to you, first of all, for making it to the end of the weekly. A big old shout out to our loyal Twitch subscribers and our wonderful patrons, and Andy, who is stepping it up. Thank you very much. I know the transmog revolution didn't happen. It turns out that I just got a little bit busy this week, but I have plenty of commentary coming, so don't forget to subscribe to the channel for that and all things Warcraft, and like the video so I can extend my tendrils of influence and fake intelligence across the internet. Otherwise, I'll see you guys next week. Until then, stay safe, stay healthy, and stay breezy.